It's time for episode 293 of the 3 Point Podcast. We're presented by Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. Check out memorialhealthcare.org for everything they offer, including big discounts for 2024. Also want to thank the good folks at AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Shook and Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, and Success Group Mortgage and Servicing. We're going to have a fun show. Sam Ali of Fox 66 in Mid-Michigan Now is going to join us again. Take a look at recapping the football season we just completed and taking a look at some winter sports. But as we always like to do, we play a little catch up. Let me just start this off, fellas. Last Saturday night, we got a call out of the blue on Saturday afternoon. And a friend of ours wanted to know if we wanted a couple of tickets to go see the show at the Lebowski Center, Holiday at Lebowski. And I got to tell you guys, I was going to tweet something. I was going to put something on social media, but I thought I'd save it for this. I'm going to tell you what a real fantastic show. I mean, kudos to everybody involved. The director, Garrett Bradley. I mean, the sets, the costuming was tremendous. The singers were great. And the choreography and dancers was top notch. I mean, for a little local production, I mean, hats off, man. It was awesome, and it really got me in the Christmas mood, We all love Christmas music. I mean, who doesn't, right? But we got to see it live. You saw dancing going along with it, the background stuff. I mean, it was just tremendous. 3.0 on the 3 Point Podcast scale for entertainment on a Saturday night.
Nice. I had some friends, actually. They were there Saturday night, and I've had some friends go, I think they did the show multiple nights.
Yeah, they did.
So some friends that went some different nights. And then some of my family and friends have gone to different shows at Lebowski previously, last holiday season, all that. And yeah, Lebowski, it's just a cool venue. First of all, it's a cool classic old
awesome.
Theater.
It is
awesome. And it's really nice. It's not like it's crumbling or anything like that. It's a really cool classic venue. But they put on quality shows. If you want to go to the theater, and get a little bit of a mini Broadway, I guess. Downtown Owasso, you can go out to eat, make a little evening of it. It is really cool.
It really is. And it's affordable too, and that's the other neat thing. And I mean, I'm not kidding. You could go to the Wharton Center, or you could go to some of the places on Broadway. You're not going to see anything a whole lot better than what I saw Saturday night. So high praise.
That is awesome. The Lebowski, I mean, speaks for itself, man. I've only gone one time, and I saw Shrek probably 6, 7, or 8 years ago. I loved it. I thought I was gonna hate it. Just loved it. So how about that? You getting out and about, going to see some live shows? Just right up the road.
Might as well while I'm not in a wheelchair.
I was gonna say this is what happens when he's actually retired. Exactly. Go out, enjoy a show.
I wish I had something like that. This is going to sound like a made-up story. It really is.
Oh, boy, here we go.
I feel like I hate doing this. I hate doing this segment in this catch-up because I feel like people think I'm like BSing on some of this stuff. And this is the weirdest one yet. So just buckle up real quick.
Okay.
So my girlfriend calls me, and she's driving home from the grocery store, has groceries. So she calls me basically like, hey, I'm going to be there any minute. Can you help me with the groceries? I'm like, sure. Great. No problem. In the meantime, I'm like, oh, she's gonna be here like 5 minutes. I'm just gonna go clean out my car. I'm just gonna clean up my car and take care of that. So as I'm out there cleaning up my car, it's probably 7 o'clock at night. It's dark out. I'm cleaning my car out. I open up my garage door, and I'm kind of just running stuff back and forth to the trash can in my garage. I have the light on in the garage as I'm kind of moving back and forth. 3-4 minutes, I'm just doing busy work. My brain's shut off. Just walking back and forth. When I finally head back into the garage, all of a sudden I hear, in the creepiest voice I've ever heard in my life, literally yells at me, "Hey, why did you hurt my cat?" I literally like the 3 seconds of pure fear I felt in this moment. It was like, I wish I could replicate it. The ultimate drug. It was like I was on the front lines of war. It's kind of how I felt, how scared I was. I flip around as quick as I can. There's this little old lady, apparently my next door neighbor. I didn't know it at the time. Standing there like with the biggest, meanest scowl on her face. And I'm like, I step up to her, I like go, yeah. And I stand to her, I'm like, I didn't touch your cat. Like, I literally have a cat. Like, I wouldn't hurt your cat. After like kind of talking her off the ledge for a few minutes, finally she like kind of calmed down and realized like, no, I didn't mess with your cat. So finally she calms down. In the meantime, I'm hearing like this meowing in like the faint distance. And I'm like, oh, this is like her cat or what, her outdoor cat that I see running around all the time. calico cat. One's called Tootsie 1, one's called Tootsie 2, apparently, for reference.
Very,
So
very
I'm hearing-
creative. Very
So I'm hearing meowing. Finally, I'm like, dude, I think that's coming from my house. So sure enough, I sprint inside. I'm like, I hear meowing coming from upstairs. I run upstairs. My cat has literally like tangled his arm into the blinds and is like literally like a ventriloquist dummy is like tied up, or not a ventriloquist dummy, like a Godfather dummy, whatever you would call that, is all tied up. And I'm literally like freaking out. I'm like, dude, I think he just broke his arm. Like the way he was laying and the way he was freaking out and like squirming. I'm like, dude, he just broke his arm. So I pick him up. And luckily, my girlfriend finally pulls in. I'm like, I yell to her down the window, like, grab the scissors, run up here and cut him loose. She runs up, cuts him loose, and he was totally fine. So anyway, so this lady, my next door neighbor, still down there, kind of standing, just like watching. So I finally go back down. And I'm like, I talked to her for a few more minutes, end up letting her into her house, and everything ended up being fine. But I tell you what, ever since then, I've been like kind of looking everywhere I want to, like every step I take outside, I'm kind of looking over my right shoulder, looking over my left shoulder. The way that genuinely scared the absolute shit out of me is something that I'm never going to forget. Like I was literally out in my garage this past Sunday, kind of dusk, like 6 o'clock, just kind of cleaning up some of the cardboard boxes I have out there. I kid you not, like I felt like a shiver down my spine, and I just like whipped my head and looked out the window. I could have sworn she was like staring at me. So I don't know, man. There's really not much to the story other than that she just scared the absolute piss out of me and accused me of like murdering her cats, basically. But it's doing some serious damage in the long term of this house. Like I had to stay here by myself the other night. I'm like hearing creaks, and I'm like, dude, she might be in this house. She was so like kind of off her like rocker that like it's really not that crazy to imagine like she might forget where she's at one day. Next thing I know, she's in my like living room and she's got a knife or something.
Lizzie
so
Borden.
I don't know. Just it's a little terrifying, but it ended up being okay. And she seems nice, but like I said, really creeped me out. And I don't think she meant to, but it was bad.
It's gonna be great one time when it's dusk or getting dark, and you go, your blinds are open. And then you walk up to the window to shut the blinds, and she's just standing there in your front yard and just like looking at you, one of those kind of things. Can't wait for that story.
So
what happened to the cat?
I wondered that too.
He's okay. I don't know. I don't know how he got his arm tangled up.
No, not your cat.
Her cat.
The lady's cat.
Like
she thinks that you heard it.
Apparently it's to be honest, I was having a hard time like kind of following what she was saying. So it was something like the leg got shut in a garage door, but it wasn't my garage door. But
she thought you did it.
Like she thought I had like 2 roommates that were guys. Like so, like I said, it was just like it was a confusing conversation that I'm not really sure there was any real like cohesive thought to it. So I wouldn't put too much thought into it. But apparently something happened to the cat's leg, had to get taken to the vet. Now it's all better. But yeah,
she just wanted you to pay the vet bill is what it comes down to.
I don't know. It was the weirdest. Like it was like a 180. As soon as I said I had a cat, she like had a smile on her face. Everything was good. It was creepy.
And then she watched you save your cat's life up in the blinds.
Yeah, I'm a hero, man. But it was like I kid you, like is it weird that like now I'm like not comfortable like walking around at night? Like I feel like I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Prisoners. At the end, it's just like the wind is like whistling at the very. That's like kind of how I feel. It's like the wind is whipping and like people are watching me. That's kind of, or she's watching me. That's how it feels now.
Maybe she came into your life for a reason. She came into your life to make you more aware of your surroundings. So now you've got your head on a swivel because of this little lady that thought you heard her cat.
Do you guys know what I say like that, like pure fear, like feeling when off the top of your head? I mean, we don't got to spend 20 minutes talking about it. What's the one time you guys have kind of felt that true, like what the fuck, I'm gonna like die feeling like a fear?
I mean, the one that comes top of my head is I've probably, if I thought about it, I could probably think of some others, but a similar thing. Ted, you've maybe had this happen to you when you had little kids, when you're in the dead of sleep, pitch black in your house, middle of the night, and you don't hear any creaks, you don't hear anything. You just all of a sudden kind of slowly wake up, and one of your kids is standing with their face this far away from you, just staring at you. And she's like, oh, and they're just like, I have to go to the bathroom. I need help back to sleep. And you're just like, oh my. And all of a sudden your heart's racing. And you're like, I can't go back to sleep now. I can't go back to sleep. Those come to mind. That's happened a few times.
Definitely. The one time, I think I might have shared this story one other time on this podcast, when I was in high school, was at the movies, the drive-in movies, and we had climbed up like 40 foot high up in a tree, and I took one step too many, and the branch broke, and I went head first down towards the ground. And in that couple of seconds, my life flashed in front of me. I was terrified, and I was saved by a bunch of vines at the very bottom. My hands were like 2 foot off the ground when I landed. My buddies had to help get me out of the vines, but I was straight down 40, 50 feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like out of a like Mission Impossible movie or something like
that. Doesn't sound real.
Yeah. But I mean, it really happened, and and I'm not kidding you. It was one of those things like you're kind of in slow motion, and
right.
it was bizarre, but I was terrified. That's
pretty
one
crazy.
just popped into my head.
You might be. What advice would you have dealing with? I mean, this is right up your alley, man. I mean, she's probably 20 years older than you are, maybe more,
right.
30. What advice would you have with dealing with a potentially crazy older neighbor? Never really dealt with that before.
She probably isn't. I'm guessing she's just maybe a lonely old lady. If she's got 2 cats and they're both named Tootsie, I mean, that gives me a little clue right there. My advice, just for what it's worth, I would just totally befriend her. See her in the neighborhood,
make her some Christmas cookies or something.
Yeah, something like that. Be kind of cool. Yeah, and then all that fear of her coming in the house with a knife probably is going to go away.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but maybe.
Well, let's face it, Jared. I mean, we've heard your stories before. I mean, you had that deep-seated thing going on anyway, with fear of darkness or in the basement or whatever. So now that you're living on your own, when you're there by yourself in a creaky old house, I could see some things happening.
There was just something about, I don't know, it's like just how like that, like I said, like I felt like those 3 seconds of like when she yelled like into this garage and I'm having my back turned and I didn't know anybody's anywhere near me, like she snuck up on me, like that feeling is something that just I don't think I could forget, man. And now it's like you find yourself seeing ghosts essentially as you're walking around this place at nighttime.
You're gonna invest in Ring cameras and put them at every possible corner of that house, aren't you?
Yeah. If I had the cash, I would. Believe me, it would make me sleep a lot better.
Yeah.
Anything in your world, Matt? I mean,
no, just got
Jared
done with
us every week.
Yeah, just got done with my mother-in-law was in town for the weekend, 4 or 5 days. So got to do that, and we got to have she came to visit anyway, but it kind of worked out because my wife's office Christmas party was this past Saturday, and it was at one of the midwives' houses here down in Charlotte, one of the suburbs of Charlotte. So just an incredible,
I figured,
huge, amazing house. I mean, I haven't been able to go. They have these Christmas parties every year, and the doctors in her office kind of rotate whose house it is. I haven't been able to go yet because of either work or I had to watch the kids or something. So it worked out. My mother-in-law was here, so we had a free babysitter, so I could go. And I mean, I'm telling you, this was a custom. I talked to the midwife. I've talked to her husband quite a bit, and he was telling me he took me on a tour of the house, and it was a custom built house. You walk in and it's the living room, but then they have the whole wall of the living room is doors, so you can slide it all open to the outside where it's a custom pool with waterfalls, with like little like charcoal rock like fireplace things in the pool. And so it's just, and they've got TVs everywhere. So like, if you're watching football or whatever, you can sit there just on a beautiful day with your whole house is just open. Nice. The house, the pool has like a screened roof. So it's actually kind of indoors, but it's all screens. So it's, you don't have to worry about bugs or, whatever. So, awesome. And obviously the food was just incredible, huge spread, drinks and everything. So it was an amazing night. It was one of those where you just like walk around and you're just like, wow, this is amazing. You just feel like you're staring at this house the whole time, but it was a good time.
Well, it got your holiday season going in the right direction.
Yes,
for sure.
For sure.
All right. Well, let's keep it moving, fellas. Let's have our prep spotlight presented by Jacobs Insurance Agency. We'll talk with Sam Ali right after this.
When it comes to an emergency, time matters. At Memorial Healthcare in Owasso, our emergency department is Fast ER. We feature low wait times, and we're just a short drive from Flint and Lansing. With emergency-trained providers and verification as a Level 3 trauma center, Memorial is an acute stroke-ready hospital. For fast, friendly treatment of minor illnesses and injuries, Memorial Healthcare Urgent Care in Owasso and Durand is now open 7 days a week with service from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. No appointment is needed, and we're conveniently located on North State Road across from Meyer in Owasso and on Lansing Road in Durand. We offer on-site x-ray and lab services too. Stop in Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. in Owasso and 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. in Durand. Saturday and Sunday, lab hours are from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. in both Owasso and Durand. Memorial Healthcare, Fast CR, and with urgent care, lab, and x-ray services now 7 days a week. We invite you to find out more and visit us at memorialhealthcare.org.
All right, guys, let's get the prep spotlight going this week. As always, brought to you by our friends at Jacobs Insurance and the veteran of the prep spotlight now, Sam Ali.
Oh, yeah.
From Mid-Michigan now, sports director over there. Definitely go give him a follow if you want to keep up on all area high school sports and among other things. He's a great follow on Twitter, Facebook, all the socials. Thanks for joining us again, Sam.
Always a pleasure, guys. There's more nonsense on my social media pages than actual info, so you're never going to be bored.
Well, the nonsense is enjoyable. I'll say that, but it's the holiday season, so let's put a bow on something that we obviously were following heavily, and you were also. And again, we gave you a shout out on Facebook, you and Brandon Green over at ABC 12. Honestly, though, you guys both, among some other local news outlets, crushed it following the Corona Cavaliers football team. Not only just the playoff run, but the whole season. So honestly, I just want to give you another kudos to everything you guys did following our Cavaliers all the way to Ford Field.
It was, there was that moment right after the national anthem where us on the sideline just kind of looked behind us, and it was just the entire town was there. And to see the disparity, for lack of a better word, between the fans on the Corona side and on Catholic Central, it was just unbelievable to be a part of that. And they stuck with them the entire season, so why not see it through to the end? Unbelievable support from Cavs Nation.
Yeah. Well, not to use my corny Christmas pun too much, but let's put a bow on that whole thing. Recap maybe just your experience. You kind of just did your experience at Ford Field covering Corona, but then maybe your thoughts on the game. They hung with Catholic Central like we were just talking about, and obviously Catholic Central pulled away, in the end, but kind of just your all-encompassing recap of Corona's historic run to Ford Field and then the game at Ford Field.
Absolutely nothing to hang their heads for. It was a two-score game, a two-score deficit at the end of the day, when there are so many of these other games that are just complete blowouts where one team just seems to be severely overmatched. Definitely wasn't the case, and coaches always point to the experience for a lot of these guys to even be there for this whole entire playoff run. And we do know, because of these big leads that they would jump out to, that a lot of those players were getting some run in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter. So it wasn't just sitting on the sidelines. So a lot of experience. There's going to be a lot of guys, the juniors. A guy like Bryce Eddington is going to be coming back with that experience and being able to ask his brother Jaden what was it like and how to get the mental aspect of things. So it's not a situation where it's like, oh no, how are we gonna recapture this magic? It's totally possible. The experience factor is something a lot of people have to take into consideration. And of course, when you got Steve Herrick delivering these post-game speeches, you would want to run through a brick wall for that guy.
Yep.
One of the events that you've kind of been covering that I thought was really cool, I actually saw you there, said hi. Monte Morris's jersey retirement at Flint Beecher a couple Fridays ago against Goodrich. What was that event like covering? And I mean, me personally, when I saw it, I thought Monte Morris was really touched. Is that kind of the same opinion you had of that whole event?
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a guy who, and in speaking with his teammates, former coaches, just a guy who did not like the spotlight. And he was just like that. When you see videos of the state championships that they won, it's all the other guys in the front holding up the trophy and everything. And Monte's just in the back. He always enjoyed being in the back instead of, this guy's Mr. Basketball. Still just wanted to lean back. But I feel like as the years go by, he realizes what what he needs to do. He needs to be in the forefront. The spotlight needs to be on him to be able to show what can come out of the Flint area, Beecher. He realizes that it's his responsibility now. And he even said that when he got traded to the Pistons, that now he feels like there's more opportunity for him to be a part of the community and to be coming to these events. I even tweeted it out. We might not have that jersey retirement ceremony if it wasn't for the Pistons trading for Monte Morris. And it's like you said, he was really emotional. The most emotion he got was when they named that day, December 1st, 2023, Monte Morris Day. That's when he really got choked up.
Yeah,
and it just shows you how much that day meant to him.
Yeah. Well, it was a great event, and you covered it excellently. And we got the winter season coming up now. I'm sure you're keeping an eye on certain stories in the winter sports campaign and maybe some of the behind the scenes stories that really are neat features. You got anything you can clue us in on a little bit?
I think the most interesting thing, I don't know if it's just this year or something, but a lot of transfers, a lot of kids, whether for whatever reason it could be, mom's got a new job or, dad had to do something. So for one reason or another, and the two biggest ones that really stand out to me on the boys' side, Amarian Blythe, who was on Hamady, and now he transferred over to Davison. And this guy is just an athletic freak. I saw them in the game against Saginaw. Davison didn't come out on top, but the guy is he was, that guy in the background for Hamady. And all of a sudden he would drop 18, 20 easy. And you'd be like, oh my God, who is this guy? And I believe he's still just a junior. He's going to be doing some really crazy things. And on the girls' side, which everyone has been talking about, is the Smith sisters who transferred from Lake Fenton over to Powers. Kendall Smith, sophomore, one of the best guards in the state. Her ability to create space is unbelievable, guys. The step back that she has is unbelievable. And her sister Amaya, one of the best defenders in the state. All of a sudden, Powers has a contending team with these two sisters. It's going to be crazy when you still find out. You look at these rosters and you're like, oh my God, where did this player go? Oh my God, he or she transferred here and there. Everything's kind of up in the air. I couldn't even tell you who would be the favorite in boys or girls basketball this year.
One of those teams that's really, really good, and this score actually really surprised me, is Saginaw Heritage. They just killed Goodrich, Battle of the Unbeatens last week. There's a big matchup potentially coming up next Tuesday in a week from today, potentially Battle of the Unbeatens again, Freeland and Saginaw Heritage. What have you seen from Saginaw Heritage, and what has impressed you the most about them? And finally, will you be potentially at that game next Tuesday, Freeland and Saginaw Heritage?
Absolutely. I mean, if it's one of those, I mean, Heritage, what I feel like is something that you guys are going to be seeing a lot is the carryover from fall sports into winter sports. I think it's a real thing when you see success on the football team and then some of those guys show up and all of a sudden the basketball team is playing really well. Heritage, talking with Tyler Odie, he said that he was kind of motivated when he saw Braylon Isom breaking all these records and doing what he does. They get motivated. I believe their volleyball team also had a really good season too. So you can see that motivation. But with talking with Tyler Odie, he said, I mean, teams are trying to key in on me, key in on Braylon. So we need other guys to step up. And when they continue to have that experience, you can have sophomores have big games, juniors. It doesn't necessarily have to fall all on the seniors. And that's the biggest thing that's going to be part of their success if they want to do the same thing that the football team did during the fall.
Yeah. You always see that a class goes through and they have success in really all seasons. If they have athletes that play 3 sports all of a sudden they're knocking off conference championship after conference championship. It's almost like you can tell this is going to happen. I see some highlights that you post on Twitter off the hardwood. I see bowling, hockey, and some other sports. Why don't we give some love to some of those athletes? What are off the hardwood, not non-basketball storylines that you're kind of keeping an eye on this winter?
I do. Okay, let's talk bowling. All right.
Yeah.
So Jenna Fajolik from Fenton, perfect game. And I was like in talking with her, I'm like, do you get a vibe? Do you get a feel of it? And she was just like, once you get like that third, that fourth, that fifth, that's when you start to kind of feel it. And it's I asked her the question that a lot of sports fans ask was about, the thing with like a perfect game, or like, do you talk?
Don't talk about it.
You don't talk. Right. It's the same thing. She said no one talked to her. They just left her alone, and just because they didn't want to jinx it. So she's just going there rolling, and then boom, 12th strike. Everyone goes nuts. She's a senior too, so what a cool moment for her. On the hockey side, everyone is going to be gunning for Powers Catholic, defending state champions. And it seems like they're well equipped because they had a lot of juniors that were playing so well. And now they're coming back. And now, the hunter becomes the hunted kind of a thing. But they're well equipped for another deep run as well. I don't know. Maybe the Chargers win back to back. I hope so. The better they play, the longer we have to work and we have to cover these moments.
Kind of a follow-up on that as well, looking at the other sports, you're a one-man band there, and you brought up the social media thing. Is that where you're finding that you're able to like pacify certain different sports, because you can only cram so much into the highlight show?
Absolutely. It's just like there might be an interview that we do and we capture like a very special moment. I'll give you a best example, that the Saginaw-Davison game that we covered. We'll do our usual highlights. We'll talk with the players afterwards and do our post game. But there was that moment in the game where TJ Stevenson, the junior, cramping up. Dude's cramping up. They go, hey, give him some Gatorade, give him this. And he's going in and out. And all of a sudden, it went from a double-digit lead to all of a sudden Davison's got a 1-point lead, 2-point lead. I hear this guy is yelling, give him mustard, give him mustard. And I'm like, who's this guy? And then turns out that was his dad. And his dad gave him went to concessions, a bottle of mustard. And this guy's just chugging it. And it worked because he instantly goes back in there, scores a bunch of points in the fourth, and Saginaw ends up winning the game. Something like that, you want to get it out. I don't want to wait until the next day. So I post that one separately as just like a hilarious side story of just, you could even hear in my disbelief. I'm like, dude, you drank mustard? Mustard? And he's like, yeah, my dad gave it to me. And all that. That's the best way to kind of capture these like side moments that happen within these games. That's just the way you got to capitalize on social media.
I know you were posting a lot. You mentioned Steve Herrick with Corona Football. You were posting a lot of his speeches and some, other interviews and stuff like that. Because there might not be time for those in your highlights in your show, but yeah, that's the stuff that blows up on social media. I mean, you probably gained a few followers after that Corona playoff run because everything you posted, Corona Football, was just spreading wildfire.
It's usually like that. Like I'll post something, and then there's just some of those communities, and I'll be honest, man, it's those smaller communities who really appreciate it. Another one, Millington. I feel like every time I post something about Millington, they're just so appreciative of that. And then the next time we see them at a game, I had some people at Ford Field kind of waving at me and kind of thanking. It didn't. The game didn't end up being the result that they wanted, but they were just so appreciative. Because I'll say this, I've said it 100 times, I'll say it 101 times. At the end of the day, if we don't cover these teams, us, the local, whether it's TV, print, radio, if we don't cover them, no one's going to cover them. No one's going to know their stories. So it's just an added responsibility. There's so many times, guys, where I'm just like, you know what I mean? I'm in this market. What's the big deal? Whatever. And then I post something, and then like either a grandparent or a parent or an uncle, they'll send this long email of just, thank you so much. my son, my daughter, they could not believe that you did this, that you talked with them and everything. And you just realize, man, just like the responsibility that we have. What is it? With great power comes great responsibility. And I'm just like, man, it just forces me to like, I really got to take this seriously, because the people, they care so much.
Yeah, that's a really good lesson to learn. You know, I've heard that in my career as well, when people come up just out of the blue, and you just, it just kind of blows you away. So you always got to be on your toes and know who you're talking to. Before we let you out of here, Sam, holiday plans. What do you got going on for the holidays?
That's a great question.
Working.
I think I'll have the whole like week of Christmas off.
Nice.
I think it's just kind of, it's not like when I lived in Duluth, where I was, so far away and stuff, but now that I'm like an hour away, and I just go home to, down to Dearborn, it's like an hour drive. So it's like, I don't miss anybody anymore. So it's not like, oh, I haven't seen my mom and dad for so long, but just kind of like floating around, I guess, kind of getting ready for the national semifinal. That's pretty much what I'm going to spend my week doing.
All right. Well, we can't let you go without a comment about that. Then lay it on it for us here.
Given I really think, and everyone has their own interpretation of like body language and stuff like that. I really think Michigan was hoping to get Florida State, and when they saw Alabama, it was kind of a shock to them. It's not the Alabama of old. We could say that it's definitely a down year, but I do believe in destiny. I do believe in fate. I think this is just Michigan's year. I think this is, if they get past Alabama, I think this is the national championship. I think the Rose Bowl is the national championship, in my opinion. I think they pull it off. I think this is the year. This is the year they do it, and then whatever happens with the NCAA and all the investigations and everything, it all doesn't even matter anymore.
It doesn't matter. We all know Reggie Bush won that Heisman. Who cares if he actually has it?
I'm telling you, I hate that. So vacated wins and that and stuff. It's like, we were there. Yeah. We know.
We know Louisville beat Michigan in basketball too.
We don't want to bring that one up.
No, I know.
Oh, man, that stinks. No, I'm kind of with you though. I think, it's such a huge mental hurdle, kind of like Michigan finally getting over that Ohio State hurdle. For Jim Harbaugh, if he could beat Nick Saban, if Michigan could beat Alabama, even if this is a touch of it, I mean, they're still in the playoff. We call it a down year for Alabama, but they still won the SEC. But I totally agree with you. I feel like the experience Michigan has, they've been there for 2 years. Hopefully they've learned something. This has to be the year.
The criticisms and everything that's been going on, you're making a team who has been ranked in the top 2 all year, making them feel like an underdog. I think it's been the biggest mistake of any opposers of Michigan, is just you're giving them more feel. You're making them play with a chip on their shoulder. Stop giving them, feeding them, making them feel like they're victims. And so
I love
it's a team that has been one of the best for the last 3 to 4 years.
Right. No, keep doing that. Keep doing that.
Do it.
Before we get you out of here, I know we got to let you get to the rest of your night. Before we started recording, we were kind of talking about the Lions a little bit, and you were absolutely disgusted with the thought of Ted planning a Vegas trip to see them in the Super Bowl. Are you like out? Are they going to waste away the division lead, or you think they're still going to get to the playoffs, but then it's a one and done? What's your vibe on the Lions?
I would say it's looking like the division is so bad that they're just going to stumble into a division championship, which is a big deal. And then when it comes to the matchup, when it comes to the playoffs, who they're hosting, I mean, if they could somehow, if the Vikings maybe make it, that's probably their best bet. But if anyone with an above average quarterback faces them, I don't know, like they need to be like everyone talks about, the NFL is rigged and all that stuff. They need to find a way to rig it where they don't host the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Don't let that happen.
Not gonna be good.
If that happens, oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, we've seen crazier things happen, but you're supposed to be playing your best football right now, and they're like just going in the wrong direction.
100%. All right, Sam, we'll let you out of here. Let our listeners again know best spot to follow your action.
I'll be on Twitter at Sam Ali Sports, and also on the TikTok, as the kids
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Sam Ali Sports over there. More nonsense and memes and stuff like that. And also on Facebook, Sam Ali Sports. You can follow me on all of those social media platforms. I call it, by the way, I call it Twitter. It's not X.
It's not
Twitter all the way, baby.
Twitter.
Amen. All right, Sam, have a great holiday, great Christmas and New Year's, and we'll check in with you in 2024, my man.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll be right back with a little bit more on the Prep Spotlight right after this.
Jacobs Insurance Agency has served Shiawassee County and the surrounding areas since 1977. Just like 3 Point Podcast, we've had 3 generations, Gary Jacobs Sr., Gary Jacobs II, Brian Jacobs, and myself, Noah Jacobs, serving our community with offices in Waterford and Owasso on M21, just west of Home Depot. Stop in or go online to jacobsinsurance.com to get a quote or get your questions answered by our team. Jacobs Insurance is a proud supporter of our local schools and the proud sponsor of the Prep Spotlight. Insure everything, local, independent, and trusted. It's our family working together to protect yours. That's the Jacobs way.
All right, guys, great stuff again, as always, from Sam Ali. Love talking with him. He's got energy. He's a great addition to the mid-Michigan area for sure. Talk a little bit more high school sports, though, and we'll just jump right into high school hoops. In boys basketball, Corunna dominated Owasso 65-23 recently. Braylon Social led the way with 18. Chesanee's going to have a good season this year. They beat Durand 61-56 in overtime. Mason struck 27 for the Indians in that one. Another team that's going to have a solid season now, officially a part of the Central Michigan Athletic Conference, Perry. They defeated Saranac 60-40. DJ Jinks had 23. We know Langsburg's going to be good. They down Portland St. Patrick 70-53. Xander Woodruff put up 26. The All-Stater hit for 39 earlier in the week, passing 1,000 career points in a big CMAC win at Pewamo, Westphalia, 59-55. I mean, it's good. We were talking off air, and Freeland has a big matchup coming down the road against Langsburg. I think it's on a Monday night. That's going to be a good test for the Falcons and the Wolfpack to see where they're at this stage of the season.
Yeah, it'll be a really good game. I mean, I don't believe that game's until February, so
I know.
It'll be a nice little primer right before March Madness. You're going to be out of town in Vegas for it, but like I said, I threw it out when we were talking to Sam Ali a minute ago. I mean, there should be a damn good game as long as Freeland handles business. They have a big game tonight against Mount Pleasant, against a bigger school, but at the very least, I mean, they should be going to that game with just one loss. And in Heritage, 2 Division I players. Freeland's already got 2 players with Division I offers, so 4 Division I players on a Class B court. You don't see that every day, so should be a fun matchup.
Young John Fattel, the head coach of the Falcons. On the girls' side, Owasso beat Corunna 47-29. Scotty Ball-Dooley had 19 for the Trojans. It was Durand over Chesaning 56-33. Taylor Carlson had 19 for the Railroaders. Ovid Elsie, that's probably the girls' team to keep an eye on in our area, along with Owasso. Owasso's got a fine team, but Ovid Elsie downed Lakeville 63-20. Evelyn Cole had 15 for the Marauders. Pretty much everybody's returned to OE, who went 22-5 last season before losing in the quarterfinals. And New Lothrop down Montrose 66-22. Caitlin Wendling had 16. A couple other sports of note, fellas. In wrestling, Durand went 5-0 at the Dansville Invitational to improve to 7-0 on the season. Boy, I'll tell you what, Durand's had a long time solid wrestling program for sure. And New Lothrop, nobody has a better program than New Lothrop. Jack Kohanek went 4-0 at the Highlander Classic to win the 165-pound weight class. And then swimming and diving, the Owasso boys won the Swartz Creek Relays. The Trojans took home first place honors in 5 events. So that kind of gets you up to date where we're at in high school sports. Just looking forward to another great winter season as I've eased into retirement. It's kind of nice. Last Friday night, sitting on the couch, tuning in periodically to hear Joe and Casey. It was kind of relaxing, to tell you the truth, guys.
Yeah, you get to actually enjoy your weekends a little bit. Not that you didn't enjoy calling the games. I know you did enjoy that, but there's still a lot of work that goes into it.
Yeah. I think it was the commitment. After 40 years, it's the every single Friday commitment that really gets you in the long haul.
I bet you missed the like hour and a half total time of work compared to the 3.5-hour football games and getting paid the same. I bet you missed that part of it though.
Yeah, it is a little easier on the vocal cords and everything else in basketball. It is definitely a quicker evening, but that goes with the territory.
Indoors too. You don't have to deal with bad press boxes or anything like that.
No, just bad Verizon signals sometimes in
Yeah,
the
true.
gyms. That's the other thing,
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's jump right into some other sports right after this from our sponsors.
Rivals Taphouse and Grille is the area's go-to spot for the best in food and drink. Meet up with your friends and catch your favorite sporting events on over 20 high-def flat-screen TVs.
And our 120-inch projection screen.
Rivals can handle your large or small parties and is an awesome spot to put on your fundraising events. Weekly food and drink specials including gourmet burgers, wings, pizza, homemade soup, and salads. Rivals also stocks a large selection of craft and domestic brews. Rivals Taphouse and Grille, the official gathering spot of 3 Point Podcast, located on the corner of Shiawassee and M21 in Corunna.
All right, guys, I've been waiting for this. I'll let you both talk about it. Let's hear it. The Detroit Lions. I know where one of you is going to go, maybe both of you. I don't know, but the Lions, they are struggling. There's no question about it. They're kind of limping to the end of the season.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I mean, I think that we've talked about the defense a lot. The defense is what it is at this point. Not good. They're not going to all of a sudden magically get better, even if Gardner Johnson comes back, even if a couple of these other guys, James Houston, it's still up in the air if he's going to come back, even if, a couple of defensive linemen kind of start playing better. The defense is what it is. They're not going to be good all year. We just have to accept that if they win any more games, it's going to have to be in a shootout. They're going to have the offense is going to have to just get back to scoring 30, 40 points a game. And with that being the case, Jared Goff has to get back to protecting the ball. It's not me being a hater. You guys know, people who listen to the podcast know I am not a big Jared Goff fan. But when they got off to a really good start and he wasn't turning the ball over, people were putting him in MVP conversation. People were saying this guy, give him a contract, give him the contract extension. He deserves it. He started for a Super Bowl with the Rams, everything that everyone has talked about. Once he starts turning the ball over, everything good that he does goes away because he doesn't run. We watched Justin Fields with the Bears. When the pocket starts to break down, he's off and running, getting a first down. Jared Goff cannot do that at all. Stafford could at least scramble when he needed to. Tom Brady could even scramble when he needed to. Jared Goff just doesn't want to run. I don't understand it. He's fumbling. He's throwing interceptions. I know one was on a Hail Mary, whatever, but he's throwing interceptions. So the point I'm trying to make is when he's not doing what was super good, he was excelling at protecting the ball, he's really just a middle of the road, really even almost a bottom of the tier quarterback in the league. I mean, because he doesn't excel at anything. He doesn't even throw the ball deep. I don't understand why you draft a guy like Jameson Williams, who's going to stretch the field, and you don't try and throw him the ball deep. They tried once last Sunday, and Goff underthrew him by 37 yards, and it was just absolutely pitiful. So I don't know. I tweeted it out. I don't know if he has some sort of injury. It seems like he's not gripping the ball very well. He never really threw darts, he never really threw tight spiral lasers, but when he's throwing it, I know Chicago is cold and all that kind of stuff, but he's throwing a lot of ducks and it seems like he's behind and it just looks really strange how he's playing. Maybe he's just in a little bit of a funk, but to me, like I said, defense is what it is. The only way the Lions are going to do anything as far as, maybe win a playoff game or two, Jared Goff has to get back to protecting the ball because if he doesn't, they're going to be a one and done. They could even possibly let the division slip away. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's still out there that they could lose this division lead that they've just had this whole season, which would be pitiful.
Goff he's been struggling. I mean, there's no arguing. Really, you can start and stop with the turnovers. I mean, we've talked about this TCU JJ McCarthy game a million times. He played a perfect game outside of 2 throws, and those 2 throws lost Michigan the game. Mm-hmm. Same thing with these Lions. I mean, the first 6 games, they had 6 turnovers. The last 7 games, they had 14. So they basically doubled their turnover output, 2 turnovers a game now. Can't win in the NFL doing that. Not with a defense that's as atrocious as Detroit's is. I'm not hitting the panic button on Goff. I'm not Ted, episode 158 or whatever that was, saying he's been lionized. I will maybe in a couple weeks if he keeps this going. Right. I'm not ready to hit the panic button on Goff. He's a veteran. He'll find his way to level. turnovers happen. The fumbles are just more so like bizarre fumbled snaps. It's not really his fault. It hasn't been great. I want to talk about this defense for a second, though.
Yeah.
Because, my God, what are we watching? What are we watching? I'm going to sound like such a hater. And I actually, believe it or not, I had one person come up to me and said, you were right about Aiden Hutchinson. Somebody came up and said that to me at work on Monday. You were right. Unprovoked. I didn't even say anything. Aiden Hutchinson, let's start with you. I mean, 2 absolute boneheaded plays in the worst possible times in that game. Jumped off sides on the DJ Moore deep touchdown. Maybe that matters. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Whenever you have the free play, seems like all of a sudden it lights up to where guys are wide open downfield. I'm not sure what it is about it.
They also were going full out blitz on that play, and they had no. So there was like a multitude of things on that play.
I can't tell if Aaron Glenn is doing them like a ton with no talent, or if he's just not that good of a coordinator. I really, I go back and forth on him every week. I like him. Yeah. But here's my problem, and where I maybe would circle Aaron Glenn and be like, what the hell is going on with this defense? So this third down play where Justin Fields scrambles for a touchdown, basically the play of the game. If the Lions get a stop there, who knows? They might end up winning that game. Aiden Hutchinson decides to basically go rogue, and he apologized for it after the game, but it was just so eye-opening of how dumb that play was. So essentially, if you didn't see the game, 3rd and long, Fields is sitting in the pocket. All of a sudden, Aiden Hutchinson just completely loses contain, decides to stunt like inward, not even toward Justin Fields, just like toward down the line of scrimmage. Is the weirdest play I've ever seen. Fields escapes around the right side, touchdown. What is Hutchinson doing? This is what I hate about this defensive line. Not only do they suck and not get any quarterback pressure at all, but they're so undisciplined. It's why these mobile quarterbacks just rip them apart, because they can't get any pressure on the quarterback. They can't keep their contain. They can't keep, good pass rush lanes. It's a joke. It's like they're the worst of all possible worlds. This front 7, dear God. And we even drafted, some reinforcements. Jack Campbell, 1st-round pick. I know he gets rated well on Pro Football Focus. Watching them week in and week out, I don't see it. Outside of Alex Anzalone, and this is maybe even a stretch, on this entire 11-man defense, is there anyone that you think is actually like a good above-average player at their position other than Hutchinson, maybe some of the obvious ones? This defense is just so underperforming on every level. Defensive line, no pressure. Secondary, getting cooked by the Chicago Bears and Justin Fields. My God. Right. The linebackers, Rodrigo is on offense now. I mean, what else do you even need to know? Right. They are 3-2 in their last 5. I mean, if Derek Carr doesn't get hurt, if the Bears don't implode a few weeks ago, they're 1-4 in their last 5. This is a fraudulent team. I'm going to say it. They're a fraudulent team. I'm not hitting panic button yet, because I think as long as you got Jared Goff, who's a veteran, who's won, they're not going to go get too low. But my God, they look like a totally different team these last 5 weeks than what we saw the last basically year and a half.
Yeah. I mean, you both had fair points, and especially the defensive comments. I mean, there's no doubt that they got issues there, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to work it out. So they are going to have to outscore teams. The funny thing is, back to Goff for a second, and again, I'm not going to be jumping on his bandwagon, but I'm also leaning more towards stick with him. Give him some help, give him some protection. I mean, he's ranked number 8 in quarterback accuracy, efficiency. 8th, not the bottom of the barrel, but he does have to protect the ball. There's no doubt about that. So I don't have a lot of issues with their offense. I had some issues with Ben Johnson's play calls, because there was some bizarre stuff. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I think he's a little. So that's my thing. I'm not gonna. I think I tweeted out that he's overrated. I'm not going that far. That was a little emotional, maybe, but I do think maybe he's not. People were treating him like he was the next Andy Reid, the next Bill Belichick defense. He was like the Bill Belichick of offense type of thing. Right. And it's like, well, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Early in the season, they were kind of clicking. The offensive line was healthy. Play action was thing. Right. Play action was working. That's why Goff was doing so well, because guys were the play action was working so well. Now the offensive line is banged up, so people are getting pressure on Goff. And I mean, the statistics show, you can look it up. He's one of the worst in the league when he's getting pressured. I mean, he can't move at all. It's just so frustrating to watch. But to that point, I don't know if they're scared to throw the ball downfield. Maybe they really think Goff is limited. That's why I wonder if he has some sort of injury, because they almost literally will not stretch the field. Every throw Goff makes is a little 5-yard out, a little dump to the running back.
That's a head scratcher. It is.
Right. Like they hit St. Brown, I feel like on one maybe, or no, actually Donovan Peoples-Jones on like a long,
Yeah.
it was like a 15, 16-yard route. Other than that, even St. Brown had a couple kind of weird.
He had a lousy game, which is something I've never said in his entire career.
Yeah, especially like straight drops. He just like never drops the ball, you know, and he had a couple kind of head scratching plays. So yeah, I'm a little, some people think Ben Johnson is the next, like I said, like the next Bill Belichick. He's going to take over a team and be the next Andy Reid and get him his Patrick Mahomes. He's going to win 27 Super Bowls or something. I don't think he's that great of an offensive coordinator. I think, he has some cool plays, cool. Yeah. I mean, that's fun. Here, real quick though, I know before you jump in on Ben Johnson, Hutchinson's third in the league in QB pressures, only behind Micah Parsons and Nick Bosa, probably the two best D. I mean, he's ahead of TJ Watt. He's ahead of all these other guys, the other Bosa, and, a bunch of this. But he only has 6 sacks. So, like, Micah Parsons, 14 sacks. Nick Bosa, 13 sacks with all those pressures. And then it's Hutchinson as far as pressures, but only 6 sacks. It's really weird. So, like, I still think he's on his way to being an incredible player. He already is, obviously, one of the best DNs in the league. It's so weird to see how often he's getting to the quarterback, but, like, whiffing on the sack.
Yeah.
He gets there, but I know Justin Fields is super mobile. They played Lamar Jackson. I get all that. But, like, he whiffs so often on the sack. And it's so weird. It's almost like is he like out of control? Like he gets there and then he doesn't know what to do. And then it's so even like they show so many of those super slow-mos where he like jumps up and misses the ball by like this much. And I'm just like, he's like this close to being the next JJ Watt. But then he's also this right. I don't. He is kind of. I'm not a Michigan State fan who says he's a bust. I'm not like that. But it's like he's a head scratcher. It's really strange to watch him.
I can't explain the pressures in those sacks. Like you said, it's like just whiffing on tackles, just fundamentals. Right. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna put a little nugget in your guys' brains. 3rd and long. Watch him. And if he does his spin move, I kid you not, it's literally one of the worst pass rush moves in the history of NFL.
He's got to mix it up.
There was one against the Bears. There was one against the Bears where literally he spun like 6 times in a row, and the tackle that was blocking him, you could see. I think the tackle was laughing. He was standing there and he was just like, "What are you doing, man?" For
real, it's like he tries hard. This is what we've always said. It's like notice how the only thing people ever talk about with what he's so good is his motor. Motor. Yeah, he gets pressures. If you're not getting home, it shouldn't even be a stat. It shouldn't even be a stat. I don't even really understand it. We don't need to keep ragging on Hutchinson. I mean, at least he's out there playing hard, which you couldn't say that on Sunday. I mean, a lot of those guys, what the hell's going on? One thing about Ben Johnson I want to talk about, one play, and Matt, I don't want to bury this because it is important. They've had 10 different offensive line combinations this year. I mean, they're the best offensive line in the NFL when they're healthy. Yep. And so that's such a big part of their offense. Jared Goff, he's not mobile, but if you can protect him, he's going to pick you apart. We've seen him do that, especially last year at the end of the year when they are fully healthy. He can pick you apart. So you can't brush that under a rug. That's a big part of why they're struggling, and that's why they were so good at the end of the year last year. And I said it's because they were the healthiest team in the NFL the back half of last year. This year we're seeing it's like they're depleted by injuries on both sides of the ball. Yep. And these other teams, these younger, healthier teams like the Bears are starting to look better as the year progresses. But Ben Johnson, my God, this was like something out of your playbook back in the 1970s, Ted. 4th and 1 to their own 30-yard line. Yeah. It was the slowest developing handoff I've ever seen in my life. Fake right, spin back to your left. It's the footwork I hate. It's like footwork from the NFL in 1983. Right. I can't stand it. And teams still do it. It's like the little 5-step drop to hand it off on a 4th and 1 with Jahmyr Gibbs in there. It's like, what are we doing? I don't understand their rotation either in the backfield. Gibbs is in on 3rd and short, 4th and short. Montgomery's in on 3rd and long as a pass catcher. It's like, what are they doing? It's like on 4th and 1. I love Gibbs, man. He's explosive. Yes. I love Monty more. His running style, love it, man. Give him the ball on 4th and 1, and even if it is your stupid little 1973 trickery handoff, he's probably still going to find a way to get it. Just what was that play call, and what is it with how they're using Gibbs and Monty? Ben Johnson, starting to scratch my head a little bit about him. I still think he's a damn good coordinator. I still love watching him call plays, but not his best performance this past Sunday. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Well, we have all this doom and gloom, and it's like the SOL fans is what we're all becoming.
It's hard not to do that, though.
Yeah, I know.
You're watching the same team we are. You weren't doing this last year. They look like frauds.
No, I don't disagree. But then again, try to look at the glass half full. It's very difficult at this point. I will give you guys that. But they're 9-4. You know, you got the 49ers 10-3, Cowboys 10-3, only a game back of them. So every team goes through this. Look at the Chiefs on Sunday. I mean, they gave that one away. They're blaming it on the referee, which I'm sick of all that stuff. But if the Lions, can turn it around, get healthy, maybe win a couple games here coming down the stretch. Well, 2 wins gets them what? 11?
Yeah.
Would we have been happy with 11 win season at the beginning of the season?
That's the thing.
The division?
They got to win a playoff game.
Well, they do. I agree.
It's always the thing where, like, if you said at the beginning of the season, 13 games in, if the Lions were 9-4, would you be happy? We'd all be like, yeah, of course. But now that we're here, right, we're like, oh man, we got Jared calling them frauds. Yeah. But that's part of it too. Across the NFL, the Eagles are struggling. Like you said, the Chiefs have actually lost a couple, I think 2 in a row. Right.
They're 8-5.
Right. The Packers were starting to surge, but DeVito and the Giants just beat them on Monday night. So, the Vikings were playing pretty well with Dobbs, but now they're going to basically their 3rd or 4th string quarterback. So it's kind of happening across the NFL. Like, teams are struggling. It's not just the Lions.
Right. That's what we got to hang our hats on right at the moment. But go back to DeVito for a minute, man. I mean, how awesome is that story, man? And his agent there with the fedora.
I know.
It's right out of The Sopranos. It's incredible.
It's right up your alley, man. It really is.
It is.
I know you're loving. We're all loving the imagery that we're seeing. I mean, his agent. That's like something out of a cartoon. I can't. I saw an interview he did with Peter Schrager. Pretty good dude. Obviously, a pretty damn good agent if he's getting his NFL talent. But I know you're loving it, Ted, because of all the Sopranos. Sopranos is making a return, or making a just coming back for vengeance because of Tommy DeVito and this Italian root story in the New York Giants. It's awesome. It's the #1 story in the NFL right now, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
It's cool because he grew up, basically just a few minutes away from where the Giants play. Still lives with his parents, and you saw the pictures or the videos that they had like a family tailgate where they're serving up like chicken cutlets and meatballs and stuff like that and pasta before the Giants game yesterday on Monday night. So it's seriously such a cool story. I mean, basically what's happening is the Giants gave Daniel Jones a huge contract this offseason.
Right.
They might have to either get rid of Jones or DeVito. Maybe the Lions will let Goff walk and they'll bring DeVito to Detroit. Who knows? But
can I say one thing that I don't understand about just to wrap it up with the Lions? Yeah. People who are calling for Hendon Hooker. I mean, what are we talking about? Guys,
not this year. No,
I feel like I've seen it. Like I just saw somebody made like an AI like edit where it was like Hendon Hooker like throwing to Sam Laporta. Like it's like, what are we doing? He hasn't done anything in the NFL. Last time we saw him, he's a 6-year college player, and he tore his ACL. It's like Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl. It's like I get he hasn't played well, but I will stand with Jared Goff, man. There's a little too much slander going on with Jared Goff right now.
No, at this point in the season. Unless, I'm throwing out speculation. I have no actual facts behind an injury. It's just speculation. Unless there is an injury, you can't go to a backup at this point. It's Jared Goff's team. You're living and dying with him. And, this far into the season, you can't all of a sudden be like, hey, Teddy Bridgewater, let's see what you can do. No, you can't do that unless an injury comes up.
Well, let's get the thoughts on the table real quick then before we move on. Okay, we know where they're at. We know where you stand on Jared Goff. They're going to have some decisions to make, right? What is the decision you make today, December 12th?
Today, there's no chance I'm giving him anywhere near top dollar. I don't know, because there had been reports that he wants, deservedly so. He should ask for all the money he wants, because I just mentioned Daniel Jones with the Giants got a huge contract, and Goff is better than Daniel Jones. So if he wants a long-term, basically max contract, there's no way I would give that to him. I think that would handcuff the Lions. I don't think he's worthy of that. I'm not saying Hendon Hooker is going to be this next great thing, and that's why they drafted him. But if he wants that big old huge contract, like a Mahomes, like a Burrow, something like that, in my opinion, no way.
I don't know. I don't know what I go back and forth every week on that. I really don't know. This week, I would say I agree with what you're saying, Matt. I wouldn't do it.
He goes and wins a playoff game,
but you don't want to see him walk for nothing, man. I mean, he's an asset, and I remember, to bring it back to the NFL draft. Remember when I threw out the idea of drafting Anthony Richardson, and you guys like laughed me out of the podcast, basically? I mean, obviously Anthony Richardson got hurt. You don't really know what he's going to turn into,
right?
But I really think that was the move this year, and especially seeing what they ended up doing at the draft, which is Campbell. I don't really know what he's been doing for us on defense, and Gibbs, who's just kind of a a nice little gadget guy to have. I mean, man, it would have been nice to draft one of those NFL rookie quarterbacks and seen what they could have done with this team with
but we
6, 7, 8 weeks behind Goff.
We can play that game all the way back to Tua.
Right.
I wanted them to take Tua, and look who they took, a washout cornerback from Ohio State.
Right.
I mean, they could have had Tua learn for a year while he got healthy and make their move
for sure. Yeah, so I guess they must have some serious faith in Hendon Hooker. I mean, if you take a quarterback in third round, we saw Jalen Hurts, third round quarterback. They must think that he is probably the future quarterback. I don't know. I didn't see that from him in college. I know he has unbelievable stats, but that's on a high flying Tennessee offense with speed everywhere with Jalen Hyatt and all those guys. So I don't know. I don't necessarily want to say he's not that guy, but if I had to bet, I would say no.
That'd be my concern. If you're just going to let Goff walk, and not pay a top 10 quarterback salary, which is he saying he wants to be paid right with Mahomes and the others? Other two or three?
I don't know if he said that, but I mean, just his contract right now, he's making close to $40 million a year, right?
Jeez.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, when he signed his current contract, he was the highest paid QB in the league. Obviously, now some other quarterbacks have gone over that. So, like the idea would be, hey, would you take a 2-year, 3-year discount? He would still be making a lot. And he said no. No, he thinks he's proven that he's a top quarterback, especially like I said, when you saw the money Deshaun Watson got, and we've seen how he's played. Daniel Jones. Goff is sitting here saying
there's not many options.
Right. Goff is sitting here saying, I started a Super Bowl and I turned the Lions around. I deserve top dollar.
So if he's making 40 mil, would you give him 50 mil for 3?
I wouldn't.
No?
Nope. I would rather spend that money on defense. I would rather.
Well, there's contracts coming off the books. I mean, Amon-Ra, you're going to have to pay him soon. Hutchinson's coming around soon. It's like you're going to have to pay these guys.
Yep.
But like you said before, Jared, quarterback, it all revolves around a quarterback.
For sure. That's
the thing. Like you're starting to see the league turn to roll with the rookies when you can get them on that cheap deal. That's why the Bears might move on from Justin Fields. Not that he's like tearing it up, but they might be, because he's ready to get off of his rookie deal. They might say, cool, move on from him and we'll draft JJ McCarthy or we'll draft Caleb Williams or something like that.
Well, let's hope Goff gets it done. They get in the playoffs, they win a game, and then we'll have more interesting decisions to make after that, right? Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, and I think that would be fair if they end up winning the division, which I still think they will, and say they do make a little noise in the playoffs, then that is different. But if he keeps playing like this, in my opinion, it doesn't justify the big deal.
He's definitely been in a little bit of a slump. I'll give you that. Speaking of slumps, we don't have to say much about the Pistons, but 20 in a row, for God's sakes. What a sorry organization.
Did you go to a game? Did you go to a game? And
no, a cousin of Lana went and he took the picture. I mean, could you believe that? An NBA game. No one is there at all. But I will say this. They did have the in-season tournament. Matt, your Lakers won that. And I didn't really pay any attention to the whole thing until the championship game.
It's awesome, though.
And I watched the championship game. It was great. It was fun.
It was cool.
Fun basketball.
It was all going to be about if the players bought in. The format was kind of weird, at first, because it was only Tuesday and Friday games.
Way too confusing.
Yeah, at first it was definitely confusing, because it would be like all of a sudden the teams have these weird courts, but then they're back to the normal courts for the other games. So it was confusing, but the players bought in, and they took it seriously. We see in other regular season games, you got Kawhi sitting out, Paul George, all the superstars are doing their load management. But in these games that were in the in-season tournament, they were taking it seriously and playing. And we saw like teams like the Pacers, they're kind of a young up and coming team. The stars on these younger teams were talking about this is a chance for us to prove to the Warriors, to the Lakers, to the Nuggets that we're for real, because this is kind of a playoff atmosphere type of game. So it was cool.
Yeah, a lot of people said, how invaluable it was for the Pacers to get that experience for a young team, heading into playoffs this year. With Halliburton, looks like a star in the making. Maybe he already is a star. Here's where I'm at with the in-season tournament. It's awesome. Was it awesome because it's the Lakers and LeBron and, they were the main marquee and they won it? Does this work if it's Pelicans versus Pacers? Maybe it's still better than the normal regular season product, but I don't think we would be talking about it as awesome as we are right now.
Yeah.
One thing that I will say about it is year one, we saw this with the All-Star game when they drafted teams and they tried hard for one All-Star game, with LeBron and KD as the captains, or maybe it was Steph. We'll see what this is in year 3, year 4, when it's not the new fun thing, when it becomes part of the every season schedule. We'll see if they have the same energy and they try just as hard as they did in year 1 as they do in year 4. That's when you really can judge this thing. But in terms of a year 1, it was awesome. Adam Silver, as LeBron said, way back when they fired the Clippers owner Gold Star for Silver, it really worked, and I really didn't think it would.
Yeah. What I like about Silver too is, he's open to suggestions to improve it. There's definitely, it's the first time out of the gate. They got some bugs they need to work out. They got some adjustments they got to make. But overall, just watching the championship game, it was fun. And you're right. I think part of the difference was LeBron. I mean, he's playing at such a high level at that extended age. I mean, got to give him a lot of credit. He's nudging up a lot closer to Jordan now in my book, especially if they can make a run at the end of the year towards a championship. I mean, he's phenomenal. He really is. What a specimen.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Going to be 39 here in a couple weeks, and he's still easily a top 5 player in the league. It's insane.
And AD, good combination.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to talk about this. I have to. I'm sorry. LeBron's former teammate, our guy, Juwan Howard, Michigan. If we got a second to talk about this
of course.
What the hell's going on? There's rumors that he got into another alter incident with the strength coach because he maybe made some comment about how his son wasn't going to treatment every day. I mean, I said this, man. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I was on this as soon as the Greg Gard Wisconsin thing happened.
Yeah.
That showed me everything I needed to know about, what's going on inside his brain. Clearly, Matt, we were texting about it. You're like, he has some anger issues or something. I mean, this is like the 3rd or 4th incident. He had the thing with Turgeon, or not Turgeon, or is that Maryland's coach?
Coach,
Turgeon. Okay. He had the altercation with him in the Big Ten tournament, whatever that was. He obviously had the Wisconsin thing with Joe Krabbenhoft. I mean, there's something new every day with this goddamn guy, and the team sucks. That's the worst part about it. I mean, I used to watch every single damn Michigan game when Beeline was the coach. They did it the right way. They were fun to watch. They scored. I mean, Juwan, at this point, I was kind of surprised to see that he's still, I think he's got a 613 win percentage for Michigan, 84 wins, 53 losses. I thought it was going to be a lot worse than that.
Yeah.
Honestly. But I mean, that's with the 1 year with Beeline's guys that they made it to the Elite Eight with Franz Wagner and those guys in 2021, 23-5 that year.
Right.
It's time. I hate to say it. I really thought he was the right guy for the job. He was a sexy hire. That's not always the right decision. We're seeing that with Michigan State with Jonathan Smith kind of going the opposite way from the whole Mel Tucker thing. It's time to go. I mean, am I alone in that? Or are you guys in the same boat? It's just time to move on to a new coach. Let Martelli take it over for the rest of the year, and let's go find a new basketball coach this offseason.
It's probably going to come down to that.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is still rumors and allegations. So you got to do that, play that whole thing. Like let's see what actually happened when the facts and details come out. If that really did happen, and no matter what the strength and conditioning coach said about Juwan's son, you can't have the head coach in the face of the program hitting your strength and conditioning coach, even if almost don't care what he said about him. Maybe you step aside and maybe you have words with each other or something, but you can't be having the head coach of your program physically, assaulting, another staff member.
Well, like you said, I mean, it is allegations on the physical part of it,
right?
Because I've heard the thing that he got in his face,
right?
So either way,
if it's all verbal, then I think maybe,
I don't know,
fine.
Matt.
He's
I
fine
think
for
you're
now, but I'm getting pretty close to saying it clearly. Like, I don't know if this is the answer because, you said it was a sexy hire, and it was kind of a sexy hire, Fab Five, Juwan Howard, all that. But I think he was at the point in his career where he deserved the shot, at least in my opinion, because he had been an assistant with the Heat for a long time. Eric Spoelstra and a bunch of other people in the NBA just raved about him as a coach. He actually even had some NBA coaching interviews. So it wasn't just like a out of nowhere splash hire. Wow,
Right.
who the heck is this guy? Steve Nash, when he got the job with the Nets, and it was like, what's happening here? But clearly, I don't know if it's a recruiting thing. I don't know if it's the way he practices. I don't know if he's just not getting the right guys. Like something is just not clicking. And clearly because they haven't been good basically since all the Beeline guys, kind of left.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it kind of
I guess we'll see when the details come out.
It was kind of frustrating to me last year. We talked about it. I mean, it seemed like everything was designed to get his son into the NBA and get a high draft pick instead of winning games. Along with the anger issues, put those two together, that's not a good combination. So we'll see if they can turn it around. And by the way, it's not all roses in East Lansing at the moment either. Tom Izzo and the Spartans are really struggling to find what is going on. I mean, talent-wise, is this team really taking a step down? Are they really missing Hauser that much?
Here's what cracks me up, man. Yeah, the only player they lost is Hauser. This is a team that made it to the Sweet 16 last year. Not a team that's like a final. It's so stupid. And the state fans just jump on Izzo any chance they get. It seems like lately, within the last 5 years, it seems to be this is the flavor of the month. Mm-hmm. Dude, this team was a Sweet 16 team last year with no real NBA talent coming back. Why are we acting like they were going to roll to the national championship this year? I never understood the preseason rankings. I never understood any of that. I mean, look at their path last year in the tournaments. Like they beat Marquette. Marquette's best player, Tyler Cole. I always F up his last name, so I'm not even going to say it. He had basically a broken hand. He was the Big East player of the year last year. Struggled. Plus, you got Shaka Smart coaching Marquette. He's got some serious tournament demons. That win was so over exaggerated for what it really was. And then they play Kansas State in the Sweet 16, which was a great game. So it kind of made you feel like the team was a little bit better than they were. But at the end of the day, they were a Sweet 16 team and really needed some luck and maybe some calls in that Marquette game to even make it that far. So I don't blame it on Izzo. People are ready to throw Izzo to the fire, it seems like. One, that they're going to turn it around. They always do. I've been burned by this 15 times in my life, man. Every goddamn year they start rough in November. They play a tough schedule. They always get it together. It's kind of the opposite of the Lions right now. They get better as the year goes on. So I'm not too worried about that, but flat out, I think that the expectations were way too high for a team that just doesn't have that NBA star and just really was just a Sweet 16 team at the end of the day. They were not a Final Four team. They were not a championship contender last year. So it's just time to simmer on the Izzo hate. Maybe you want to agree with that, Matt. What do you think? No,
I think the hate is fair. I mean, I don't think it's a fire him. He's awful. Send him off to pasture. Not that extreme like some people are. But I think the expectations were fair because I think a lot of times when Michigan State thrives, especially under Izzo, they don't necessarily have John Calipari, top 5 recruiting class, bunch of top 20 draft picks. It's a bunch of really good college basketball players that play Big Ten, Tom Izzo style basketball. That's a lot of his success. Maybe they have one Cassius Winston or, something like that star. So, and like you said, they went to the Sweet 16 last year. Basically all they lost was Hauser. So really the whole team was back. Tyson Walker is supposed to be a superstar. So, you have a really good team coming back. They have experience. They have guys who've been there 2, 3, 4 years. So really this looked like it should have been one of those Tom Izzo teams. Experience, talent. They've been to the tournament. They've got some guards that are really good. So to me, it is a little bit of a head scratcher. I think they don't have that Tillman type of player. They don't have that dude down low that is just going to get you 15, 18 rebounds every night and, just push guys around. That's what Tom Izzo teams always are. You don't ever push a Tom Izzo team around. They're always cleaning up offensive glass. They're always getting defensive rebounds. They're getting all those hustle plays. And this team doesn't seem to be doing that at all. No. I don't know if I don't know if they're not as close as some previous teams, something like that.
I mean, they're relying on Sissoko and Carson Cooper, man. I mean, you're not going to be dominating teams in the post with that dynamic duo.
No.
One thing I think is a fair criticism of Izzo is his. I don't know if it's like a refusal, but he doesn't use the transfer portal
for sure.
He just relies on his recruits, which works for sure. He has a track record of success. But in today's day and age, with how many guys are in the transfer portal, you got to scoop up a guy or two, even just for depth. And he just doesn't seem, I don't know if he has a philosophy or doesn't like it. Yeah, I don't know. But
he said, like, it's a famous bite. He basically said, like, yeah, I don't do the portal, and that's probably going to come back and bite me. I just saw that on Twitter like a few days ago. Yeah, you look at this team, man. I mean, every team could benefit from the portal, even like you said, just adding a couple pieces, like 6th and 7th guys on the bench. It's like, how can you not go to the portal? It's such a cheat code. I mean, we're seeing it in football. Michigan, it's like they're retooling the last couple of years in that portal every year on the offensive line, tight ends. It's like you're idiotic if you're not doing that, especially if you're Michigan State and you're Tom Izzo. Go get those top guys. What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, they're gonna have to, or they're gonna be left out, and Izzo's gonna have a tough end to his career. But I'm a little with Jared right now, though. Let's see how the season unfolds as they get deeper into the season. They always do typically get better.
I said that too.
Yeah.
I said that too. You don't have to just be with Jared on everything.
Right.
Ooh, sensitive.
I'm just saying,
problem. I'm with you. Okay.
I didn't say fire Tom Izzo. I said that too.
Okay, fair enough. One final thing, fellas. It's not really a entertainment segment, but I watched a flick that was pretty good. It was on Hulu. I don't know if you guys are Ray Romano fans, but
everybody loves Raymond.
Everybody loves Raymond. He's got a new movie out called Somewhere in Queens. I'd say definitely worth checking it out. It's got a kind of a basketball flavor to it. His son's a star player in high school basketball, and it's one of those rare movies where they actually look like they're playing basketball, So I'd say check it out on Hulu.
Basketball's tough to replicate and make it look realistic. Some other sports you kind of can, but basketball usually looks pretty cheesy in movies.
But a pretty good flick. I definitely would recommend it if you're looking for some entertainment for a couple hours on Hulu.
Do you just scroll mindlessly, and if you basically anything, and you just click it and watch it? You kind of seem like the type of guy that you watch something based on who the actors and actresses are. You have a certain list of guys like a Raymond Romano. If he's in anything, you're watching it. Is that fair to say?
That's kind of fair to say. And I actually saw him on Jimmy Kimmel talking about the movie, and it caught my interest. I thought, okay, I'll check it out. I do like Ray Romano, so probably.
I didn't even know. I didn't even know he was still acting. I couldn't even think of the last thing he did. But
wasn't he in he was in what the heck was that movie? It was a comedy, The Big Sick. He was in that. He's like the dad in that. That's the last thing I remember watching.
He was in that, and I think he was in that Jimmy Hoffa movie too. He had a smaller part in that. Yeah.
Dear Lord. One thing, a movie I want to throw out to you guys. I don't think any of us have seen it yet. Kind of surprising. The new Hunger Games movie. It's been out for, I think, 10 or so days at this point. I love those movies. I really did. I'm kind of itching at the bit to go and watch this new one. I've heard it's awesome. It's a prequel, kind of talking about the Snow character, who's sort of the villain in the trilogy with Katniss Everdeen and that whole thing. I can't wait to see that movie. I love those movies. The idea of the Hunger Games is a brilliant, just a brilliant idea for a book, and obviously movies. When you're watching those scenes where they're actually in the Hunger Games in those first two movies, man, I'd put it up there with any other action movie that there is. It's incredible. So I've been dying to go see that. I think we maybe need to do a 3-headed review of that if you guys are Hunger Games fans. I'm not sure though.
When's it coming out?
It is out.
It's out.
Oh, it's out now. Okay.
Yeah, it's been out for a couple of weeks. I've heard some people who are read the books, have seen all the movies. That said, it's right up there with all the other movies. Sometimes these series kind of start to fall off a little bit, but I saw there was 3 already, right? I've seen the first 2.
Yeah, 3.
I don't think I watched the third one, but the first two were great.
Yeah.
So
And the third one is they're not in the Hunger Games. It's
Right.
it's just about how she's kind of basically she's like a propaganda figure.
I think that's why I really almost had like no interest, because I was like,
Dropped
oh,
out.
this is like a completely different
Would you
movie.
guys-
But like you said, the first two, and I didn't read the books. I heard the books are incredible too.
Would you guys agree that those in those whatever it's like the first movie? I feel like they're in the Hunger Games for like an hour 15. I mean, you can't take your eyes off the screen.
It's intense.
It's
Because
intense.
it's definitely it's one of those movies or one of those stories. It's super unique. First of all, anymore with movies, books, TV shows, whatever. Maybe not books. There's a lot of different books, but TV shows and movies, they're all basically the same. It's either like a remake of something old, or it's like so similar to other movies. It's a spin-off of something else. The Hunger Games are a super unique storyline and idea or whatever. And it's one of those that, like, when you're watching it, you're kind of putting yourself in that place. You start kind of thinking, like, if this was actually happening, how would I handle it? Or,
Right.
Would I be good?
Yeah.
Would I be good at the
well.
Hunger Games, or whatever?
I
It's one
would.
of those.
100% agree. And I mean, the whole concept of it. And you said the books are out too, based on it.
Oh yeah, the books have been out. Those were like super duper popular when I was in like middle school. Those were like what everybody was reading.
Do you find usually, most people do find if you read the book, it's usually better than the movie, or
Yeah,
It depends. I mean, I don't know
Right.
about this series because I didn't read the books, but I know, like with Lord of the Rings, I remember people saying that the Lord of the Rings books were way better than the movies, but those movies were really good. So that's kind of hard to imagine. But I was going to throw out one more quick one. We're not doing like an official Teddertainment tonight, but we're throwing stuff out. So the 30 for 30 that came out after the Heisman Trophy was announced this past Saturday. The great Heisman race of 1997. So obviously the famous Charles Woodson, he won it. Peyton Manning, Randy Moss, that just incredible
Loaded.
class for the Heisman. You probably never see a class like that again, just top to bottom. But I know one of my coworkers, one of the girls that produced it, I've been talking to her ever since she started on the project. She was super hyped, obviously, for it to drop. She was one of the main producers. She wasn't the main producer, but she was one of the main producers. And so I've been keeping tabs on everything like that. She's showed me a few clips. Couldn't reveal everything because you can't do that. But so I haven't actually watched the whole thing yet. I haven't had a chance to, but I know it's really well done. The one thing, and I didn't want to give her crap, in person. They didn't interview Peyton Manning or Charles Woodson. And
really,
I think it was like a creative choice. Was it? Like, I don't think there's a single interview in the whole thing. Is there, Matt? I don't think there is.
There's not a current. They use interviews from back in 97 and stuff like that. But with Peyton and Charles, I think it was a creative choice. That's what she told me, and that's what the director said. The director was on the Feinbaum show last week, and he said that. But I think also Woodson probably would have done it. He did the 30 for 30, the tuck rule with Tom Brady. Yeah. Peyton Manning does not like talking about this. It's pretty well documented. He does not like talking about. Yeah. So I'd be surprised if part of the creative choice was just not even approaching Peyton Manning.
Omaha.
Yeah. So I don't know. But I bet it's really good. I bet. No,
I can't. I can't wait to watch that. It's 30 for 30, man, and especially a topic that's not like some soccer team from Europe, which some of the 30 for 30s, which are good, and there's still stories worth telling. But this is right up my alley. It's right up all of our alleys. I do have one quick question for you, Ted, before we wrap. I saw you tweet it. I don't know. You saw it too, Matt. It's like I didn't understand what the problem was. So Monday Night Football last night, there's 2 games going simulcast. Yeah, you had some tweet. You didn't like how it was set up. I didn't totally understand what you were tweeting.
I'll explain it to you. I tweeted a picture of the double screen, right? Both games.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have just watched the game. Like, I was interested in the Packers and Giants. And when I happened to take that picture, they had the Giants and the Packers on the left side. And then they had the other game a little smaller on the right side. Okay. I would have loved, if they're going to play 2 games at the same time on the same basically networks, I'd like to have that option to watch both at the same time. Yeah, I could get out another TV, but
you're still confusing me. I guess I don't. What is the issue? They're both on the screen. They're both playing. One's bigger, one's smaller.
It was just
watching them at the same time.
It was just a clip.
It was just a clip.
Just a clip. It wasn't the whole game.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
They just went to it. I feel like they did that a few times. Just
couple times.
Like, hey, there's 2 games going on at once.
Yeah.
So Ted's saying you wish it was like that the whole time.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
see.
Just an observation.
I was working, but I mean the Manning cast, that looked like the broadcast to be watching. I mean, they had the bussin' with the boys guys on there, bouncing back and forth between two games. I mean, I love the two Monday night football games. I'll be honest, if I had it my way, no Thursday night football, in either two Sunday night games or two Monday night games. Either way, I'd love it.
Now, would you want to do it though different times, like 6 and 8:30 or something?
I like
that?
it like 7 and 8 o'clock, like a 1 hour difference. You know,
Okay.
there's overlap, maybe an hour and a half difference, 7,
Yeah.
8:30. That's the perfect gap in me. I don't like it where it's one game and then the other. I like that overlap, like we saw last night.
Especially on a Sunday or Monday night when one's at say 7:30, the other one's at 10:30, because then that late kickoff. I mean, you're
for sure.
There's no way we're making it through that whole game.
No, you're not.
But yeah, to space them out so that way you got two options. Because sometimes if it's a stinker of a matchup, you're kind of like, okay, I'll watch, but I really don't care. I honestly, I've come to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are top notch.
Yep.
I usually watch the Manning cast though. It's just so entertaining. They're especially when they have good guests, but they're hilarious to watch. Honestly,
I went the other way. When it first came out, I was all about the Manning cast, but since they got Buck and Aikman, I'm watching that. I watch the Manning cast, but I record it and then I just check it out the next day.
Yeah.
One thing that cracked me up, I saw a little clip on Twitter about it, is they reached out to Mike McDaniel to like reach out for to talk to Peyton Manning for like 10 minutes. He said like, yeah, for sure, dude, you're effing Peyton Manning. Like, of course I'm gonna do it. He spelled Peyton Manning wrong. Real quick, one last thing on no, we're not doing entertainment. Just you guys got to watch it, man. If you haven't been in season, Hard Knocks. Best show. I love it. It's such an interesting team that they're following, the Dolphins. Mike McDaniel. I mean, I'd play for that guy. What an interesting, just like character that is unbelievable that he's an NFL head coach and just what he wears, wearing sweatpants and sweatshirt and like a Rolex watch and Nike, whatever supply shoes. It's wild. I just can't get enough of that guy. He's an interesting football coach that I'll never forget. Whether he keeps his success train rolling with the Miami Dolphins or like all these NFL coaches, they get fired at some point.
Right.
But he's one of those guys you'll never forget. What a character. So I'm really enjoying watching that season on HBO.
I've seen some clips. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. All right, guys. I think we made it through another one. Definitely a lot going on. I want to thank our partners, including Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. Sign up for a 2024 membership, 15% off. Get yourself healthy and in shape. Get details at memorialhealthcare.org. Also want to thank AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Shook & Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, and Success Group Mortgage and Servicing. Special thanks to Sam Ali of Fox 66 and Mid-Michigan Now. You can follow him on the socials at Sam Ali Sports. Our Castle game of the week this Friday night, our final one of this year, December 15th. It's at the Marauder Gym. Ovid Elsie taking on the New Lothrop Hornets in a big MMAC battle. That's it. Peace and love, everybody. Be kind out there. Thanks for listening.